What resources do the Bills have now and in the future to improve? And why are we even having this discussion? Locked On Bills starts now.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of the Herd Mentality Substack, co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, co-host of the NFL First Read Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Locked On Bills is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Well, folks, welcome in. The bye week conversations continue with Greg Tompsett of Cover One. You know, this is an annual tradition. I talk to three guys every year during the bye week. Nate Geary, we did that already. Greg Tompsett today. Spoiler, Bruce Nolan will be next up tomorrow. And I'm excited to chat with Greg. I know he was hoping to get a little time away from some Bills conversation during the bye week, but we roped them in. And Greg, thanks for making some time for us, man.
Of course, always a pleasure. Really excited. Enjoy is a relative term here, but we're going to talk about what's going on.
We are. And we'll talk about some opportunities here in segment one that the Bills could have to maybe add to this roster. I know Greg is feeling some type of way about some of the investments that have been made and where it has led to this team. And then I'm going to spend segment three going through positives with Greg Tompsett here. So let's get into it, Greg. You're the salary cap resource guy, so we got to start there. What does Bills Mafia need to know about the current cap position of this team and ability to onboard contracts through a trade? That's what everyone's thinking about. How can this team add something to help? What can they do? What do they have?
So I don't know, how's the meme from the show goes? Not great, Bob. It's not great. There are options depending on where you look, and there's obviously this is a constant moving target. I think the Bills just added Jimmy Charlo back to the practice squad earlier before our recording. So every single move has, little bits of dollars here or there. They're roughly $2 million under the salary cap. I think that's the general consensus based on the various sites you can see. I think Spotrac has them at 2.8, and the guys over the cap have them at closer to flat to 2. There are a couple little levers they can pull. They didn't do anything with Connor McGovern. They didn't do anything with a couple of the contracts that they could have played with beforehand. There's ones that obviously we don't want them to mess with, like a Dawson Knox or a Matt Milano, or even a Daquan Jones, that I think there's harder discussions next year. But there's some where they could kick that money out into the future and just stretch a little bit more if they needed to do something. So obviously that's all relative to, does an opportunity present itself? I would say anyone, the names that obviously get thrown at both of us and everyone else around our space, the Jeffrey Simmons and the Trey Hendricksons and the big flashy name, AJ Brown, whatever it may be, I won't say never, because obviously any team can be motivated to find the combination of transactions that technically could open up the space to make something possible. Those would be incredibly difficult. You're talking about literally 7 or 8 different transactions that would be needed. But if they found a player, my cutoff is a guy who probably makes in the $5 to $7 million salary range, meaning there's $3.5 to $4 million left. That's the kind of stretch they could make, where like, hey, if the right guy came about and they wanted to do something, you're talking about 1 or 2 other tweaks. They could make that happen. In general, they need to be looking for people that are on either a minimum salary, or the structure from the team that has them, the salary that comes over is low enough that it allows it.
Are there some players the Bills could part with as part of a trade? I think about like Epinesa, maybe Curtis Samuel. I don't know that he would have any market, but if you did find teams that could take on those players, is that probably the most logical path forward to creating a little space?
100%. So when I talk about those 7 or 8 transactions, one of them would be convincing the team to take players back.
Yeah.
That if they were able to do that, which may involve additional draft compensation or higher premium of draft compensation in order to get them to take that on. I would talk about Curtis Samuel that way. I think AJ Epinesa has played at a level where, one, I don't know if we can afford to move him. Like, he's
Yeah, I
actually
don't
one of the more.
disagree. I'm just, if you felt like you had to get better somewhere else and you said, oh, Hoyt's here and we like something about Jackson or Solomon, maybe you think you're 4 or 5 deep there.
He may be the only, like, the Venn diagram of genuine market value, depth that makes it possible, and movable contract. Like,
Yeah.
that Venn diagram is one player, and it's AJ Epinesa. Like, he's genuinely the only one where, and again, at the beginning of the year it was $4 million and change. So now you're talking probably closer to like 2.5, 3 million would come off, because we've already given him 7 of those game checks now. Or by this week it'll work out that way. So any of those, there's already a portion that's been paid out, but that would take a little bit of money with. It's a bigger amount for Curtis Samuel, but I mean, you're having to tag compensation with him to get someone to take that contract. There are some guys, if somebody still had a high grade on a Dwayne Carter or someone like that you could try to do. You never know with pieces like that, but in general, there's very few, and Epinesa and Samuel are the only realistic veterans. In theory, Elijah Moore is higher than the minimum he could technically go with in a move.
So you can see we're stretching here, which should get our expectations in the right place. I think about last year, the team was pretty tight to be able to onboard a contract, and that's what made Amari Cooper uniquely the guy that they kind of had to go after, right? It was a deal that had been restructured by the Browns that made it very small for the Bills or any team to onboard. And because of that, you had to pay a little more, right? You had to pay more. You had to pay the third for Amari Cooper. So I think that's probably the reality. And look, a lot of the things that we're talking about the Bills going out and getting, it's not like unique to the Bills. These are things other teams want. Other teams want corners and receivers. That's the whole chatter of the league. And so you are limited in what you can onboard. And in order to make that work, you're probably going to have to be the highest bidder for sure.
Yeah.
So, it's complicated. And when it comes to draft capital, real quick, let me just put this information out there. Right now for 2026, the Bills have their own pick in rounds 1 through 5. They don't have a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick that is theirs, but they do have a 7th rounder that was part of the Brandon Codrington trade with the Jets. They have a 7th round pick from Dallas as part of the Kyer Elam trade. So a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 7th round picks is what the Bills have in 2026 draft capital. Greg, speaking of 2026, as we just take a quick peek, and obviously I know there's a lot of fluidity to this. You don't even know what the salary cap is going to be, but generally speaking, based on estimates and your preliminary looks at things, what type of cap position do the Bills look to be in entering next offseason?
So each of the sites that people use have different algorithms of how they count some of the likely to be earned and unlikely to be earned incentives for this season. If you have a likely to be earned incentive, it's already counted against the cap and you get a credit back if you don't achieve it, which now would be something where the Matt Milano missing time, we'd probably get some money back there. There's others where if guys are playing well and they achieve it, but it was not likely to be earned, it doesn't count, but you then have to pay for it going into next season. So the two sites count those differently. So you'll see a pretty wide variance. I think that Over the Cap has them at like 2 million in space. Spotrac has them at like 3 million over the cap already. That range is about accurate. And I would say they're both probably counting a little too far in each direction, which should tell you we're probably going to be at the cap going into the season. So we're not going to be like some previous seasons where, hey, we're so far under or already over, we need to make 5 or 6 maneuvers just to get under. There's also a little bit of fortune there. One of the biggest things fans miss when they look at other teams and how much cap space they have, look at how many players are under contract. So you'll look at like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, and I should have had an example in front of me. The Chiefs have more cap space than us, but you look, they have 31 players under contract. We have 46 players under contract. So even if you do just 15 minimum players, that immediately takes a big chunk out of there. And you look at how many starters they're missing, that fills in like bigger chunks of the money. Like, hey, sure, they have money available, but they need to fill spots. They don't just have superfluous funds to go add on top of what they have. They're losing players. So the Bills, when you look at the ratio of how many starters are under contract, are maybe the best in the league. They have the most returning starters of any team in the league next year, but we're paying them, so we don't have a lot of cap space. So they'll be able to make maneuvers like every year. They'll be able to redo things, restructure things. They'll have enough money to go play around the edges. I would actually expect probably slightly less spending next year than we saw this year, with Palmer and Bosa at maybe the higher end of what we saw. 2 years ago, our biggest splurge was Connor McGovern at $6 million and change. We're probably in that space again. But when we talked earlier this spring, hey, what's the odds we can extend all these guys? And we said maybe 3, 4 at the most. We extended all 5 guys, and that was our money. That was our spending money. We extended all 5 of those players.
Well, makes it even more important to hit on draft picks. And I get the sense Greg's a little fired up. We're going to find out what that's all about here on the other side of it. So, folks, be sure to stick with us. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint Mobile makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number in contacts. I love that you are getting the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. The setup is super easy. You keep your number, and then you're just running in minutes. If you're ready to say yes to saying no, make the switch to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Upfront payment of $45 required, which is equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payments into real rewards that you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just for rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. I love that with Built, your rent finally works for you. You're earning points every month on something you already have to pay. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use the link so that they know we sent you. My guest today, Greg Tompsett of Cover One. Make sure you guys are keeping up with everything going on at Cover One. So many great resources. I love so many things. I love this guy's coverage with AP. I love the Cover One Buffalo show with you and AQ. I actually went back and listened just recently to you guys after the Falcons lost. The film room stuff with Eric is unbelievable. You guys getting players in there, breaking down film. It's unreal content that everyone needs to be consuming. So make sure you are following everything at Cover One, their socials, their YouTube channel. It's all phenomenal. It's a big part of my Bills Mafia fandom, and it's better because of their involvement. So make sure you guys are checking out Cover One and all the outstanding work from Greg and all the guys over there.
Appreciate it.
All right, Gregory. I sent you a text message, and I said, hey, man, what do you want to talk about? You know, one of the priorities for me in these bi-week discussions is to not just bring you guys in here and ask you a bunch of questions. Of course, I want to do that, but I just want to have conversations more than anything. And so I said, what do you want to talk about, man? What are you passionate about? And you said this is a quote: wasting defensive resources to not only not fix the defense for the defensive head coach, but in doing so, also didn't have anything left to provide difference makers for the quarterback.
I was in a dark place. Obviously most folks know I am eternally optimistic. I can find like the silver lining in just about anything. I always will find like, hey, it's all right. What's next? What are we going to do? like that Falcons game broke me a little bit. I was in a really, really dark space for just the intrusive thoughts of like we're gonna of course it's gonna look better, and then we're gonna fix it when it doesn't actually matter, but when it matters again, we're not going to actually fix it. And just really, really rough space. And part of that was, how could we spend our first 5 draft picks on defense and 80% of our free agent spending and give that to a defensive head coach and the home groomed defensive coordinator and produce that like 335 yards of offense in the first half? Like, that's just, how is that even in the range of possibilities? And then you compound that with like, oh, why were the Falcons able to say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to just match up and make it look like man and blitz the crap out of you and just bet that you can't beat us. And they did it over and over and over again. And that, like, oh, why didn't we have resources to beat that? And granted, Kincaid's out. Palmer got hurt early. Looked like he was about to have a breakout game. Like, there's plenty of things the realistic part of my brain, the logical part of my brain can explain. But in the moment, it was, yeah, it's because we spent all the money on the defense that just got embarrassed in the first half. And that it just was a really rough moment of, you're looking at 5 guys that we didn't think we could afford to extend. And maybe one of them is out playing the extension right now. Most of them are like, either like Shakir, he's doing fine. Like, he's doing good, but he's not, exceedingly. Rousseau has had really nice flashes, but hasn't taken the step forward we were hoping for. Benford, to this point, has taken a material step back, or at least hasn't produced at the level that we were used to. Bernard, I don't know if he's healthy, but that certainly hasn't been what we were hoping. And like, hey, we just spent all that. We're not going to have free agent spending money because we locked up our core. And now it's like, oh, I really hope that's our core. Like, I hope they're what we thought they were. And just all these, anytime. And thank God for Aaron Quinn. He went back the last 4 seasons and found these exact stretches of back-to-back losses where we're questioning the coaching, questioning the quarterback, questioning the coordinators, questioning the GM and the talent every single year. And then we rattle off 8 in a row or 11 in a row or whatever's going on. Like, there's plenty of precedent here, but right now it just feels like there's a lot to question.
Why does it feel worse this year than in those previous years? Because I agree with you. I've found those silver linings. I've reminded myself, wow, they were embarrassed against Houston and Baltimore last year. Probably worse than these 2 games that we're all thinking about. And they didn't even have Amari Cooper at the time. You're banged up on defense. Why do we feel worse this time?
So I think there's 2 sides to that. I think one of it is, we also haven't had as many of the like super fun start. Last year, like, you had that ridiculous Jaguars game where we just kept scoring and scoring and scoring.
Whatever they wanted,
Yeah, the Jets game was like pretty good, but it actually probably wasn't quite as dominant as what the score looked. There was still some moments there, but that's the only like really dominant game we've had so far. So there were struggles against the Dolphins, there were struggles against the Saints. It ends up being a double-digit win, but didn't really feel like it. So I think it's that we didn't have the highs to go back to, but well, we can boat race these teams like we did when we haven't done that. Then you go to the other side where, even with the logic of like, well, we've bounced back from these things before, you go back to the like, yeah, but like, is the fact that we keep having these things happen, is that in itself more of should it be more of a concern? Is that more of a concern that like, hey, why do we keep having these things when we're obviously a good team? Why do we have these moments where it just seems like we're questioning so many different parts of the roster and the coaching and the even the high end talent? Why does that keep happening like that? And is there something more institutional involved here that is more of an issue? It just forces you to ask questions like that, whether they're whether those are panicky and reactionary or not. It does force you to ask difficult questions that we don't want to ask.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's a little fatigue as well. Sure. I think there's some, looking at the Patriots, like, let's be honest, nobody wants to acknowledge it. Drake May looks freaking awesome, dude.
Yes.
He's in year 2. He's 23 years old. He's unbelievable. So I think that, let's be honest, that's part of it too.
Add in there is a question that came up last night. Nate and I, who are obviously famously very reasonable people, that we let our intrusive thoughts come out and like, hey, I don't know if I think this, but I felt it for a moment. And we challenged the chat to like give us your scariest ones of what's there. And the one that made us both pause, I'll ask you and just give me your instant reaction. Who's the best coach in the AFC East?
That's probably Mike Vrabel. Yeah,
it is like, so now like, oh crap, like he has the culture stuff and the tone and like the locker room piece, and is exceptional tactically on game day, and that is almost always at the cutting edge of every rule, every little factor, and that, oh crap, like everybody kind of thought, yeah, that's a coaching upgrade, but you don't really think about it like side by side of like, oh crap, did they surpass us in coaching value? And maybe it's marginally. I don't think like he's leap years ahead of Sean McDermott. But if you now look at that and be like, Drake May might be ready a little earlier than we thought. I saw the flashes last year, but of course there were the boneheaded play once a half that he kind of still was forcing it, and it was Josh Allen cosplay. Like he was trying to be Josh, but he wasn't. And now it's like, oh, he's doing the cool stuff, but he's not making the boneheaded mistakes, and they have a big coaching upgrade. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, like what did we let them do to catch up?
And let's be honest, nobody's hiring Josh McDaniels to be their head coach. It's done, right? It's not going to happen, right? Like
locked in.
He's not going. Nobody's doing this. Yeah.
That's their Spagnuolo. Like he'll have that longevity and that consistency. Drake May will have that as long as he wants.
So thanks, Tennessee. Appreciate it. Like, does it ever end?
By the way, just random betting advice for your audience. All the money that you have available to you, put on Mike Vrabel embarrassing the Tennessee Titans this weekend. That man is a spiteful, petty man.
I don't disagree.
There is no amount of points that he won't endorse being scored.
I don't disagree with that, but my heart is telling me one game bump, baby, for this.
Come on. Cam Ward. Give me the Cam Ward breakout. Just Cam, put that team on your back. You and Jeffrey Simmons go on and put on a show.
Please. Yeah, I think that's at the root of it. I think that's just as much as we are concerned about issues with the Bills. It's that team, it's that quarterback, and nobody's ready for it to not be the Bills on top of the AFC East, especially that team.
It was at least built in of like, yeah, of course we're going to have to get past the Chiefs or the Ravens, but it was a given that like, yeah, but of course we're still going to walk to the division title. And now, again, if you ask me in a logical moment, are we still going to win the division? Yes, of course, I still think we're going to win the division. But like, I was like, oh, hey, maybe we'll have it wrapped up by week 12 again, like we did last week. And now like, oh crap, we're going to have to fight for this tooth and nail down to the end.
Yep.
And if anybody isn't sure, go look at the Patriots schedule and let me know how many losses you see on there.
It's garbage, right? So yeah, at 6-0, you'd be up like a million games in the division. Coming out against Carolina, we'd be feeling some type of way, even if the warts that we saw the first 4 games were there. I think that's, for me, like, to me, it's been a dam, right? Like like pressure against this dam for 4 weeks, and they won 4 games in a row. And you knew there were problems. You're like, they're winning. And what I kept telling myself, Greg, was, wow, they're winning, and they haven't even come close to playing their best football. And then they lost 2 in a row, and you're like, well, need to see some improvements. And so now we're clinging to, defensive reinforcements and Joe Brady having some soul searching during the bye. It may be a trade here to get back to where we want to get. But the other side of this, and Jeremy White keeps saying this, he's like, yeah, they had the lull every year. Right? We're sort of used to that. But the lull leads to the playoff exit. And you've said that, you said that as well. It's like, well, I don't know. It's I guess you don't have the lull. You're the 1 seed. You're just dominant all year. That's what we were hoping to get. But I don't know. I guess we'll back to battling this thing out and seeing what happens in the postseason and hoping that they have the right play call for the first time in a million years on that key defensive moment, right?
That's critical moment.
Did they have it or not? And they haven't had it.
We'll get to silver linings and positives here.
Yeah. Next, that's what we're doing. All the negativity gone, positives in segment 3. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel the craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Greg Tompsett, Cover One, my guest today for our bye-week reflection conversation. And it is time to be positive, right? This is still Josh Allen. This is still a team that's battle-tested, that's proven a lot over the years. And so let's get into things that we like. What are your favorite things that you've learned about the 2025 Buffalo Bills?
For anyone who isn't watching, which shame on you, you should be watching.
Keep talking. Keep talking.
I am holding up my custom-made Deion Walker 96 large human jersey. And instead of Walker, it literally says large human on the back of the jersey. And being in a spot where a guy that, again, I've been on the large human shtick for a couple of years here, wanting, going back year after year after year from Vita Vea all the way through now, of wanting to find a way to just get that big monstrous guy. And you're like, there were a lot of, kind of chinks in the armor of like, well, he's not that kind of guy. Like, yes, he's like 6'7", 330, 345, whatever it is. He's big, but he's not like, he doesn't play that style. So there are obviously many well-founded concerns. But even, I'm not alone, but as one of the most, out there on the ledge, stepping out over my skis fans of his, he's exceeded all of my expectations of, like, I thought I was hoping for Jordan Phillips 2.0, looks like a one tech, plays like a three tech, gets washed out every once in a while, but has the disruptive pass rush plays where Jordan Phillips every once in a while would just take a guard and throw him into Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game. And now seeing that, he could be like a consistently disruptive one tech against the run and play 80% of snaps in a game. And granted, that was forced by the pregame Daquan Jones injury, but to hold up and to have, 4 tackles for a loss. And I counted like 3 or 4 more plays where he set up what should have been a really good play, but others missed a tackle or things that didn't come through. Again, I'm not going to get ahead of myself in that what's everything that's there, but I don't think it's crazy that like, he could be a starting defensive tackle going forward, period.
Well, my pre-draft opinions on Deion Walker were well documented. And Greg, look what I have.
Right. That's right. That's right.
What's funny is I acquired this, not by my own means. After the Bills drafted Deion Walker, this showed up at my house.
That's awesome. That's
shout out to my friend Jake, who
that's awesome,
came through. And you know what? I'm not mad I have it. I'm not mad I have it. So
I mean, again, you go back to the previous year, I think there was a ton of very valid concern that like, hey, they're saying it's his stress fractures in the back and he was fighting through it, but really, was that it, or was it an effort issue? Was he looking to the future? Were there things? And again, no one can ever know for sure, but it seems pretty genuine that the stories we heard of like, hey, he didn't want to let his teammates down. He didn't want to stop playing as many snaps. He wanted to gut through it and didn't want to miss those things. He knew that, just like the Baker Mayfield thing in Cleveland, like, in your mind, I'm going to be better off if I pack it in and just focus on the money in the future, but I want to play for my guys. Like, it kind of seems like that's what he did. And that the guy who was there and that excitement of being a 18-year-old man in the SEC and what he did as a 19-year-old, like that, hey, maybe that was real.
Being sensitive to our non-YouTube audience, which is most people that listen to Locked On Bills, Greg showed his large human 96 Bills jersey, and I showed my Deion Walker jersey.
Nice.
What else, man? Jackson Hawes is cool, right? That's a redeeming one. Yeah.
He is. Like, that's a really nice addition. And I will say, like, there are other positives. I do kind of think we're in the midst of a Dalton Kincaid breakout. Obviously,
Yes.
it's kind of out of sight, out of mind of what's there. But, like, I think we're seeing the guy that we thought we were going to see. Unfortunately, what has curbed that each of the previous seasons has been injuries. So,
Yeah.
like, hey, what's he able to come back from here? I'm perfectly fine. I think all this season we've seen them be ultra conservative from an injury standpoint. Again, maybe pompously, maybe overlooking. I think there's even some play calling things that we've done pompously of like, hey, force ourselves to play with our B game so that we can keep some of our A game, or maybe we get good enough at our B game that it becomes a go-to play, all those kind of things. So I don't mind that, but we need him to be back healthy to get back to what he was at the beginning of the year. I think that we've seen flashes of what this defensive line can be. And that I'm hopeful that there's a bit more to come there. But yeah, it hasn't been there. And James Cook. I think James Cook is a piece where, obviously lots of people analytically are just opposed in principle to paying any running back a second contract. Once it got down to what the numbers were here, even I couldn't really argue like, hey, that's just a very fair deal. And then to see him come out and play the way he has, like, oh, that looks fantastic. He now looks like, even beyond what we saw before, of like, hey, how much of that was situational with the touchdowns? Like, his ability to slither through these teams, and the contact balance that I don't remember seeing to that degree, his ability to fight through tackles and the physicality at his frame and size has been super encouraging.
If that deal didn't get done and James Cook was on an expiring contract, we would just be in pure panic right now.
100%.
Pure panic. Yeah. So
and he would be on pace to go get
15
4
plus.
years, 60 million.
Yeah,
for sure.
No doubt about it. How about Shaq Thompson? I think that's linebacker depth that the Bills haven't had in a while. I mean, for was it like a June signing? Afterthought, 2 back-to-back horrible injuries, 30-something years old.
Chase Claypool, Lyle Collins contracts signings never actually end up mattering, and it's fun. Like, this one actually mattered.
It already mattered. No, if he doesn't play another snap, it's mattered a ton. So let's finish on this. What are you most confident in improving the rest of the way?
I do think that it's easy to get lost. I'm speaking for myself. I got lost in just the reaction to the loss and the pain around what's there. It's easy to forget that, like, hey, our first round pick's gonna come play at a critical spot. 2 of our biggest signings, a defensive end and defensive tackle, are just getting activated and going to get added to this team in this rotation. I want to tell myself Matt Milano's going to play again, but I'm not banking on that one. I actually researched a lot of linebacker trade targets. There are reinforcements coming. Like, Dalton Kincaid is going to come back and play. So again, we need these guys to be healthy in January. That's ultimately all that really matters here. But there are genuine reinforcements coming here. Coming out of that Falcons game, there's no one we're trading for that's as good as Dalton Kincaid. There is no one realistically that we're trading for that's as good as Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi. I'm not ready to tell people that Max Harrison is the answer, but I'm here to tell you he is the plan. Yeah. Like, for anyone who's banking on them going out to trade for a starting cornerback, the plan is Max Harrison. Like, now, whether that ends up proving to be the right plan, we will all find out together. We'll hope for a Deion Walker result here. He is the plan. We are going to find out. They're not going to trade for somebody to then supersede there. And in fairness, if anyone's seen the most recent video clips, that looks like that is in the near future here. Yeah. He is going to be ready to play.
And McDermott said it. McDermott doesn't say, hey, we're hopeful to open his window if that's not going to happen, right? He's been cautious every step of the way. And now he's like, yeah, we're hopeful that's going to be open. He ain't saying that if it ain't happening.
100%. So that's what I'm most confident in improving the rest of the way, is there are genuine reinforcements and talent on this roster already that we haven't seen that are about to get added in. So you take some of the snaps we've had to have with the Zion Logues and the Fedarian Mathises and the Javon Solomons and Landon Jacksons, and you let that be Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, now all of a sudden you don't get the drop off from the top group we've seen. I think that is going to make a substantial difference in the consistency of what that defensive line can produce. So there are things like that I feel a lot better about. And then I'm not going to say I'm confident in Max Harrison, but I'm hopeful that his athleticism, at least the variance that gives him, being able to put his foot in the ground and break on balls, the catch up speed, some of those things. We're still going to give up plays because he's going to give up plays with probably mental mistakes. But I'm at least hopeful that the variance he brings with his physical traits will give a positive outcome and another tool in Babbich's tool belt.
I'd love to know the amount of defensive tackle snaps over the last 5 games taken by practice squad defensive tackles. Or in week 1, it's your 2 rookies that are debuting in the NFL.
And I think weirdly, like, people turn so quickly to being mad about the contract setup and the cost for Ogunjobi with the suspension that they skipped over the thing. They're like, hey, the last time he played in this style of defense, he had 20 and a half sacks in those 4 seasons. Like, this is a consistently disruptive player that is an NFL caliber player. Like, this is he would be in the rotation.
He's a rostered player.
He would be in every defensive line rotation in the NFL.
Right.
Every single one.
Right.
So, like, he's not like some game wrecker, but like, this is a significant difference of a practice squad call-up guy that is going to be a really nice moment. And I think people wrote that off as like, oh my God, I can't believe we wasted this money on a suspended guy. Well, guess what? He's fresh and healthy and ready to jump into play.
Yeah. I like that you call out the players that are coming back that are going to help the team, but also as we consider a lot of players that we're disappointed in, you name them, whatever ones you want, Josh Allen, whoever it is, Terrell Bernard, Christian Benford, Taron Johnson, Taylor Rapp, whatever player you want to invoke, they have a sample size of being a much better player than they've seen. So whether it's a combination of some of those guys getting back to their normal levels, these reinforcements coming, I think there is a lot of great opportunity for this Bills team to go on the run that we hope it will. All right, Greg, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for hopping in here. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Make sure you guys check out Greg and Cover One. Seriously, everything over there is phenomenal. It's a big part of my fandom. It should be part of yours as well. All right, that's going to do it for us here today. Thanks for being here. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.